And a good evening to you all, and welcome to the latest edition of the 8 o'clock spot, live here on the Gryd Network's YouTube and Twitter channel and page. I am your host / moderator, Bryson Carver. Very excited to be with you once again. We got three outstanding panelists, including to start, if he can hear us, because the audio output is giving us issues to start. But the defending champion, Barry Grant Jr., is back. And Barry, if you can hear me, what's going on, my man? Now his audio isn't working. Now is... Let's see, is his mic muted? I can't hear you, Bear. I hate to tell you, my man. May have to either unmute his mic, or we still cannot hear Barry Grant Jr., so we'll hopefully get that resolved by the time. I may have to dock you 50 points for that, buddy, because we still can't hear you. To Alfred Parsard Jr., who has been a champion in the past, has actually beaten Barry himself in the final round. Alfred, not a great showing for your New York Jets, sir. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'd like to give a shout out to this network, the Gryd Network. Happy 1-year anniversary, as evidenced by my Gryd hat. You can get Gryd gear, including this nice Gryd hat, at the Gryd website for the price that's listed on the website. And I don't know what that thing on Barry's head was, but it looked like he might have ran over something and kept it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good analogy there. You're probably right. To our newest addition to the 8 o'clock spot, 1/3 of the Cowboys CanFan Podcast here on the Gryd Network. It is AJ. What's going on, my man? Welcome to the 8 o'clock spot, sir. I'm sure you're very excited about your Dallas Cowboys. How you doing?
Absolutely, and thanks for having me on, and happy anniversary, everyone, on the Gryd Network. I do appreciate being allowed on the cast. Not that I wasn't invited before, but for my first time. So probably make some rookie mistakes, but this is exciting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's see. We got a couple of comments here. Our guy Devin, a previous champion of the show, he says, "Yo, what it is," and says, "Happy anniversary to the Gryd family. Dare to be different." And that is a great time to remind everybody that this is the 1-year anniversary of the Gryd Network. It is Gryd Appreciation Week all week long on all of our social media platforms too. Very, very exciting. So definitely going to celebrate on this show and throughout the week. And we're very excited to be here. Can Barry? Can we hear you now, Barry? Are you there?
I think you can.
We can hear you now. Thank God. Okay, we're good. So, should I dock you 50 points for that, or is that something that I should consider, or what?
I'm gonna leave that up to the moderator. All right, the wrench is here. If you want to go ahead and dock the champ 50 points, that's your business. That's your business.
Yeah. Well, Clint Alexander says minus 800, so I guess he's that is if we do that, we can actually maybe get people back in this game. But I'll make my decision once we're done with this first take. So, first round rules, just to give everybody the rules. Everybody gets 2 minutes to speak. In all 3 rounds. So, first round, a great take nets you 200 points, a good take 100 points, an okay take nets you 50, and a bad take you get nothing. You get 0 points. So let's move on to the first thing that we led last week's edition of the 8 o'clock spot with the Dallas Cowboys, another dominant win over a New York team. This time the New York Jets, a 30-10 victory led by the defense of Micah Parsons, and offensively Dak Prescott having his best showing thus far in the young season. Over 250 yards, couple touchdown passes, and a passer rating over 100. So great showing overall for Dallas. So I'll start with you, Barry. You're a Cowboys fan in here. Are the Dallas Cowboys the favorites to win the NFC thus far through week 2?
Well, I mean, you can definitely put them at the top of the board, but I mean, to say that they're the favorites after 2 weeks, even me as a Dallas Cowboys fan, I can't go there. They are one of the best teams in the NFC, if not in the NFL. But, this is football. Anything can happen. But what we've seen from the Dallas Cowboys is balance. We've seen good rushing attack. We've seen a solid defense. We've seen very good coaching. Mike McCarthy hasn't made any hiccups to me in regards to the first 2 weeks of the season. Dak Prescott has looked pretty solid in the first 2 weeks of the season. So they look like the most balanced team outside of San Francisco. And, they have a really good chance of getting there, but it's a long season, man. But what they're doing right now is showing that they're literally one of the most nastiest defenses in the NFL and one of the most balanced teams. So that's as far as I'll go.
Okay, that's fair. And listen, again, they are playing 2 teams, quarterbacked by Daniel Jones, and even worse cases, you would know, Alfred. We're about to get to you, Zach Wilson, who I'm not even quite sure is an NFL quarterback at this particular point in time. So, to you, Alfred, are you impressed with the Cowboys, or more importantly, are they the favorites through 2 weeks in the NFC to get to the Super Bowl?
Well, am I impressed? Somewhat, because again, week 1 they trounced the Giants 40-0. They had a 30-10 win over the Jets. But as you said, they beat two teams quarterbacked by Daniel Jones and Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is one of the worst quarterbacks that I would say in my lifetime of watching football. And I've been watching football consistently since 1998. So, I mean, how impressed can you be with a win over a quarterback who shouldn't even be a CFL level quarterback, let alone in the NFL? As far as front runner for the NFC, it's too early to tell because the Eagles are playing great football, despite the fact that they just beat a miserable Vikings team who may not even have Kirk Cousins past the trade deadline. You have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons, even though I don't think their records will hold up throughout the course of the season, they're both undefeated. And then the aforementioned 49ers, who I think right now are the scariest team in the NFC. So I'm not going to rush to judgment and say, oh, the Cowboys are the favorite 2 weeks in when they beat two less than mediocre teams offensively. So I do think that they'll win that division, but I'm not sold on the fact that they're the front runner just yet until they play one of the other aforementioned teams, like a 49ers team or like that Eagles team. If they can, when they play the Eagles, that's going to tell us everything we need to know.
Interesting that you say Philadelphia because as far as I'm concerned, Dallas is 2-0 through 2 weeks of the season. I was talking and carving it up yesterday about how I think they should win the next two games against Arizona, quarterback by my man Joshua Dobbs, and next week and the week after against New England Patriots, quarterback by a guy who's not my man, Mac Jones. That test in San Francisco, though, is going to be very fascinating in the sense that that's a team they've lost in the playoffs 2 years in a row. That's an excellent defense, excellent coach. So that's obviously going to be a test for Dallas.
Before you move on to AJ, I just want to say the Cowboys are very fortunate because their early schedule is very easy. They're playing a bunch of bad teams early on. So, you know, if they have a great record through the first 6 or 7, you know, that, again, nobody picks their own schedule. But the schedule is definitely a factor of why they've looked so good so far.
It is, and listen, at the end of the day, you can only play who's on your schedule, and to Dallas's credit, they've obviously taken advantage of that. To you now, AJ, of the Cowboys CanFan Podcast, do you believe the Dallas Cowboys are the favorites in the NFC?
Look, I'm a very much a homer, so I would say 100% they're the best NFC Beast team. Okay, we're gonna say the top in the NFC. I mean, I want to say yes, but for the sake of this show's conversation here, I really want to hold that opinion until after we play the 49ers. I do agree that, like, these were easier wins, but a 40-0 blowout at MetLife, sure, the Giants are definitely not a victory to celebrate, but they still came back and had a great comeback victory last week. So, you know, up until they did that, it was looking, wow, these Giants are a really piss-poor team. That being said, I mean, the defense is firing on all cylinders, just a really scary defense, disruptive. Mike McCarthy calling plays with Dak. I really like the shift that this offense has done. So I'm feeling very positive. I have to hold out to week 5, but for the sake of conversation, yeah, they're the top of the NFC.
And they're playing great football, as you mentioned, like you said, and I talked about this again yesterday on my show, that, you know, Mike McCarthy calling the plays and calling the shots now with Dak, you know, he's putting in Dak in position that, you know, all great offensive coaches do with their quarterbacks, and that, football is obviously a very difficult sport, particularly in the NFL, but making things easier on your quarterback. I mean, even Andy Reid with Mahomes, he'll give him a couple of layup throws just to build the confidence to wide receivers. Certainly, it seems like Mike McCarthy's doing the same with Dak, as well as the fact that they are establishing the running game in Dallas. So let's go through our point totals thus far. A good take by Barry Grant Jr., but it's only 50 because you get docked 50 for the whole audio problem. You know, it's just it can't happen on the show. That's 2 weeks straight now, by the way, that you've either had a near tardy or, in this case, you know, some audio problems. You can't hear us, we can't hear you. It's just you got to be ready to come to work when you're asked to come to work, Barrington. Okay, that can't happen.
I hear you.
That can't happen. To Alfred, good take, Alfred. I have to say, or actually, sorry, great take, rather. because you were talking about obviously level of competition, but you gave them the props. You think they're the best team in the NFC East, which is saying something given that obviously the defending NFC champions do play in that division. So great take by Alfred. And to our resident Cowboys CanFan guy, Alex, I'm going to give you 200 points there, Alex. Good take. Again, like you said, you're kind of the mindset that I think I am. A lot of people are like, let's see till week 5 against San Francisco. But again, like you said, the sake of conversation. Again, part of the reason I gave Barry a good take too is it wasn't that decisive. Again, we like decisiveness. We like assertiveness here on the 8 o'clock spot.
Week 2. I can't give you decisiveness in week 2. What are we talking about here?
But
this
notice
week 15. It's week 2.
Notice the question was through week 2, who is the favorite? Okay, I was very intentional.
I'm trying to be level here. All right, that's all I'm trying to be. We have a Dallas Cowboys homer on one side. I'm trying to be the level guy. But if you want to give me 100, that's fine. That's fine.
Well, technically 50 because of the situation
50,
beforehand. It is what it is. But listen, the defending champion is in the rearview mirror of Alfred and Alex. So we'll see what happens throughout the second round rules. Let's look over them real quick. Great take nets you 400. Good take 200. Okay take gives you 100 points, and a bad take again 0. Let's move on to what was one of the more, if not the most anticipated divisional matchup of week 2, featuring the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati with a very, very rough outing, especially offensively against Baltimore. Joe Burrow had another rough game, came on a little bit in the second half, but the Bengals now, back-to-back years, they start 0-2. The bad news is, which is different from last year, Joe Burrow apparently re-aggravated his calf injury that he suffered in training camp, so definitely not the greatest of times for the Cincinnati Bengals, and given how stacked the AFC is, I'll start with you, Alfred, as our resident AFC guy in this show. Do you think it is more likely that the Cincinnati Bengals make the playoffs or miss the playoffs?
Through 2 weeks, even though it's very early and anything could happen. Again, you said they started 0-2 last year, and we all know that they went very far in the season last year. But the way it's looking, I think they're going to miss the playoffs, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, as you mentioned, Joe Burrow re-aggravated that calf injury. We got to remember, Joe Burrow had no practice time and no preseason reps at all this season because of that calf injury. That's number one. Number two, the offense has struggled. Yes, for those of you who play fantasy football, Joe Burrow gave you a great day because he and T. Higgins had 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns. But at the same time, before that fourth quarter, that offense looked flat. The offense also laid an egg and was a dud in week 1 against Cleveland. You would think for guys who have played together with Chase and Mixon and Higgins and Burrow, you would think for guys who have played together for years, the way they've looked through 2 weeks, you would have thought that this was a team that was just assembled this offseason. It looks like they have no chemistry, no rapport. And if Joe Burrow, because as of right now, the rumor is, according to Yahoo, what I read before we got on the air, he may miss week 3. If he misses week 3 and they start 0-3 and he misses multiple weeks, because that's what they're saying, how bad he aggravated that calf, especially playing in that AFC North, it's gonna be bad news for Cincinnati, considering that the other 2 great teams in the AFC, the Chiefs and the Bills, both bounced back in week 2 after some shocking and devastating week 1 losses. I think Cincinnati's in trouble, especially if Burrow misses, because their second string QB, I can't even remember his name. That's how much of a nobody he is. I don't think in that division with Cleveland and with your Pittsburgh Steelers that they're going to be able to hold up.
It's going to be tough, and again, the Bengals fans are hoping we never have to say the name of the backup quarterback, and that's never even a conversation to begin with. But again, with that re-aggravated calf injury, that again, he did suffer in training camp, and there's the discussion, hey, they bring him back too early. That's been a topic of conversation. That could be a real problem for them moving forward. To you, AJ, do you think it's more likely Cincinnati makes the playoffs or misses it entirely?
Well, it really does come down to this Burrow's nagging injury, and I'm going to have to say I think this injury is going to keep haunting him for the rest of the season. I think that's going to affect him either just day to day and affect his play if they keep playing him, or they'll have to sit him for a prolonged period of time to just give that injury rest. Either way, I think we're going to see some losses from the Bengals because of that. One good bright note, though, is that when you're comparing the growth of Joe Burrow's passing game and just yards alone from week 1 to week 2, he did increase by 270%. So if that trajectory keeps on, I mean, the man is going to have a career, an NFL career season. But no, I think it's scary, and I don't think you can sleep on that division. You can't start a season off 0-2 and expect to make the playoffs, let alone to two of your divisional rivals. So it's going to be very tough.
You know, as the old saying goes, if you come into the season injured, you're going to probably exit the season injured with that same particular nagging thing. So, yeah, like you said, with Burrow's calf, that could be a real problem. And again, by the way, you know, next week they play the Rams on Monday Night Football. That might be a laugher to a certain extent, but, you know, you look at the Rams, how they're playing, even without Cooper Kupp, they're getting some of these younger receivers involved. Sean McVay's still a great coach. Nice backdoor cover on the last play of the game against the San Francisco 49ers. Cost a lot of Niners fans some money. So, thank you, Sean McVay, if that was your intention. To Barry Gryd Jr. now, you're a big Joe Burrow guy. Do you think it's more likely they make the playoffs or miss the playoffs given the 0-2 start and the severity of his calf injury?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, listen, we have to give the guy credit in regards to what he's been in his career. He's been a guy that has been doubted since he's been here in regards to not his play, but how he can be able to lead this team to where they've been. Nobody ever picked the Bengals to get to the Super Bowl. They got to the Super Bowl with a terrible offensive line. Nobody said that they would make the year 0-2. They got to the playoffs at 0-2. They're 0-2 right now. Yes, he has a calf injury, but this is what the other two panelists did not mention in those 2 weeks. They played two teams with great defenses in that AFC North. Just because Joe Burrow's a little injured doesn't mean that those teams didn't play great football in week 1 and week 2 to kind of stifle that offense and keep them under wraps. Now, yes, Joe Burrow did come up injured, but they can be able to, not let him practice as much. There's no need for him to take first team reps right now. They can rest him during the week. He can be able to get as much treatment and play as much as possible. And I think that if Joe Burrow is on the field, he gives them the best chance to make the playoffs and win games. And so if you want me to have a decisive answer, I'm going Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow and the Bengals made the playoffs.
Okay, that's fair, and again, that's a great point you mentioned about the fact that you could kind of rest him throughout the week, and the thing is too, again, offense is a timing thing. That's what you saw a lot of clunkers from a lot of offenses in week 1. Just the timing wasn't there. A lot of guys didn't play in the preseason, so that tends to be a problem, or at least it has been the last few years. And so when you look at the fact that Joe Burrow and that Cincinnati offense, Alfred did bring this up. They did kind of get going in the fourth quarter. Maybe that's something that they could use that momentum going into next week. Again, that is a home matchup against the Los Angeles Rams, and what happens to be a Super Bowl rematch. So we will get to our point total in just a second, but let's go to the comments. Alfred Parsard, I'm sorry, Devin, our resident Ravens fans in the comments, very excited about his Baltimore Ravens, hashtag Ravens flock. They look good, although there's some rumors regarding Odell Beckham Jr. and Kim Kardashian that could derail the season before it even gets a chance to get started. So we got to wait and see what happens. So Clint Alexander's in the comments. He says plus 400 for Alfred. Great points made. So you got a fan in the comments here, Alfred. So we'll see if that nets you the 400 there. Clint Alexander says 0 for Barry. You don't make the playoffs on past success. What the current team provides dictates what happens for the current year. Fair enough, Clint.
You don't bet against Joe Burrow. So I don't know who Clint is, but you need to go sit somewhere.
I gotta actually kind of on Barry's side of this one. Let's look at let's look at the point totals here. Alfred Parsard Jr., buddy, that was a great take. I'm not gonna lie to you. Listen, again, we talk about decisiveness. You're talking about the fact that if Joe Burrow, if this is something that could keep him out for a long time, this could be an issue for them moving forward. And so they lose this game against the Rams, like you said, they start 0-3. I'm kind of with you in the sense that it's a wrap for Cincinnati, just as loaded as the AFC is, and that calf, assuming he plays next Monday night, isn't exactly getting healthier. To you, Alex, good take. The only thing with you, Alex, is you gave me a solid take. I didn't get an answer. That's the only thing. I didn't get an answer. Will they make the playoffs? Won't they make the playoffs? It's just kind of, it's up in the air, but a solid take by you. And a Bear, I thought that was a great take. Listen, you're a big Joe Burrow guy. You're going all in on him. You brought some facts to the table as well. And listen, again, you don't bet against the guy who's done what he's done over the first 3 years of his career, no question about it. So look at there, we're going into round 3, and Alfred Parsard Jr. has got a pretty nice lead, but it is tight. You're exactly right, Barry. So listen, this could be something that comes down the wire. Let's go down to our final round before obviously the final round involving the top 2 point getters. The third round rules: a great take nets you 800 points, a good take 400, okay take nets you 200, and a bad take, again, keeping that at a big fat goose egg. Let's go to a game in Arizona that was a wild one. So the New York Giants Giants trailed 20-zip to the Arizona Cardinals at halftime, to my man Joshua Dobbs, who, by the way, is playing very well. Who needs Caleb Williams when you have Joshua Dobbs? Am I right? But listen, the New York Giants in the second half scored 4 straight touchdowns and then kicked a game-winning field goal with about 30 seconds left in the football game. A lot of folks are talking about, hey, the Giants who've gotten shut out in the first 6 quarters of their season, all of a sudden Daniel Jones comes alive and the offense looks really good and the defense, of course, plays well. And then others looking at it as if, well, yeah, you're playing the Arizona Cardinals. I'd certainly hope you could get a win against potentially the worst team in football, although they haven't showed that thus far, but we'll see. I'll start with you, AJ. Were you impressed by the Giants' 20-point comeback against Arizona?
Absolutely, and I'll give you my answer right off the top, okay? Trailing by 3 scores in the second half since 2014, the chances of winning is 1.9%. I'm a big analytics dude, so that right there, I don't know how you can say this isn't impressive. Add on to Jones becoming one of the first quarterbacks, the first quarterback to throw for 250 yards, 50 rush for 50, and have multiple touchdowns and a rushing touchdown, and not commit a turnover in the second half of the game. So, is that enough? I mean, they certainly gave Giants fans a nice glimmer of hope for the rest of the season with that. Up until that point, as I mentioned earlier, I would have been like, what's going on, holding my head in my hands. But I think you got to build off of that. You got to just look at that last second half out of the last 6 halves they've played. And it's something that you can use to turn the team around, build momentum off of. So I am definitely impressed, and it's going to make things interesting.
For sure, and it's also credit too to Brian Daboll and this, and the character of this Giants team. Like a lot of teams, they're trailing Arizona. It's on the road. You just got humiliated on national television the week prior. A lot of teams come in the second half, and maybe they're just not necessarily throwing the towel. They're not going to quit, obviously, but they're not in the right frame of mindset to really come back and go win the football game. But the fact the Giants, again, they got a big play down the field to kind of kick off the comeback to my man Jalen Hyatt, and it really propelled them from there. Of course, they did lose Saquon Barkley, but it doesn't look like the injury is quite as severe as we initially thought, which is, of course, great news. To you, Barry Grant Jr., were you impressed with the New York Giants' 20-point comeback?
I would definitely say yes. A lot of people before the season kind of wrote Arizona off in regards to them being a terrible team, 0-17. They're not going to win a game. They'll win. Like, here's the thing that I've noticed through 2 weeks. They play very hard, and they play very inspired football. So them being up as much as they were on the Giants, it doesn't feel as bad now because they've shown and they've proven that they're a tough team. So it is a quality win by the Giants to be able to come back and win that game for a team that plays very hard like the Arizona Cardinals. If this was just a terrible team and they were up this big and the Giants win the game, it doesn't feel as good this week to be able to talk about it. But the fact that I particularly think that although they may not win a lot of games, Arizona is not an easy out. They really are not. So, shouts to the Giants for winning that game, but I really am more impressed with the Arizona Cardinals in regards to how much fight and how much grit they have, with given all the issues and turmoil that they've been having over the past few seasons. You know what I call that, Barry? Tanking in style. This is what it looks like from the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah. So, we'll see what happens through the next 15 weeks of their season. Alfred, again, you're like Barry, you're a New York guy, but a Jets fan, albeit. Were you impressed by the in-town team's comeback on the road against the Arizona Cardinals?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was impressed, and I'll tell you why. Number one, as you mentioned, they came off that 40-burger loss at home on national television to the Cowboys the week prior that the whole world saw. So it's not like they even lost a close game in week 1, that they had momentum to take in the game in the week 2. They literally had no momentum going into this game. Then at halftime, they're down by 20. Anytime you're down by 3 scores at any point in the game, doesn't matter if it's the first quarter, fourth quarter, that's demoralizing. So the fact that they had the wherewithal to say, all right, we're not giving up, that in and of itself is inspirational, even if they would have lost a close game to the Cardinals. Yeah, the Cardinals, they're going to be a stinker this year. But again, anytime a team has you by 3 scores and your back's against the wall and you're in a similar situation to the week prior and you were able to change destiny mid-game, that's amazing. And to add to the fact, Saquon Barkley didn't finish the game either. Saquon Barkley, without a doubt, is the best player that offense has. No offense to Darren Waller or Daniel Jones, who just got paid, no matter whether you agree with him getting the bag or not. But I mean, to finish the game and win without your star running back and one of the more explosive running backs in the NFL itself, in and of itself, that's very impressive. You could say what you want about the quality of the opponent, not having their star quarterback this season, but no, anytime you come back from 3 scores, that's impressive.
It is. And listen, Arizona is an NFL team. Again, sort of reference to what Barry said earlier, like, some people saying 0-17. I gave them enough respect to give them 1 win on the season. But hey, listen, they may sneak out a couple, when it's all said and done. Man, we got a lot of comments here regarding what's going on. Let's see. Sincere Brown says Danny Dimes, so I assume he's a big Daniel Jones fan. Shaheem Taylor says quality win. What? Well, I mean, listen, a win, any win is a quality win. You take what you can get. Clint Alexander says, yeah, Cap. So, man, with not a lot of pro Giants comments, looks like just about everybody here disagrees with all 3 of our panelists. Sincere Brown says that halftime chat must have been interesting. Shaheem Taylor says there was nothing impressive about the Giants' win. Stop it. Okay. Listen, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I think it's hilarious. This is probably the first time that it seems like the entire comment section is completely against all the panelists, which I'm going to take up for my guys now. Okay, get off my guys' backs. Okay, they make some solid points. I'll start with you, Alex. Great take there. Great take again. You bounced back in the sense that it was very decisive. You were talking about how, listen, making a comeback of this magnitude is darn near impossible. You mentioned since 2014, like 1.9%, something crazy. So the fact the Giants were able to pull it off and Daniel Jones played as well as he did, as you mentioned, great take on your part. To Barry, great take as well for you, my man. It was you're talking about how, listen, we need to probably give Arizona a little bit more respect than we have been giving them. But listen, Giants came through. They rallied at halftime and they got the W. So great take on your part. And that is now 3 straight great takes for Alfred, who's going to be moving on to the final round to take on Barry Gryd Jr. We'll get to you and Alex in just a moment. I hate to tell you, man, you're not moving on, but great take by Alfred. Once again, like to make this comeback, like you mentioned, is very impressive. And listen, it's very difficult. So listen, as far as our guy Alex, my man, it's just it's not a great not a great finish for you, buddy. It was obviously very exciting to have you on though. But how you feeling?
Hey, I feel good. I feel like I just slipped up there on my second answer. But, now I know what you're looking for, Bryson. This is what this game is about, is figure out what you want to hear. And then
Yeah, boost my ego a little bit, AJ. Listen, it's a feel-out process, right? Like, it's a preseason game. Game. And then once you, listen, as far as I know, and I'll check the leaderboard once it's all said and done. Let me look at the leaderboard now. I think you might have.
I am impressed with AJ's first appearance. I'm not going to lie to you.
Very impressive performance. And tell, I'm sure our guy Adam is watching, your guy Adam, especially from the CanFan, you are ahead of him on the leaderboard, okay? So you had a better performance thus far. Both of you with 1 appearance. You're ahead of Adam. We're going to have to get Anth on at some point to complete the CanFan trifecta. Right. We may have to do an 8 o'clock spot with just the CanFan guys at some point. That would be that would be fun. That'd be fun, no question about it. So, Alex, great performance. We'll talk to you at the very end of the show, but hate to move you here, but it's down to a rematch between Barry Gryd Jr. and Alfred Parsard Jr. It feels kind of fitting at this point. But let's move on into our final round rules. It's a winner take all. The winner gets 10,000 points. It's really the great equalizer of this contest. The loser comes home empty-handed in second place. So, a really fun debate here. So, the Defensive Player of the Year race has really heated up already 2 weeks into the season with Micah Parsons of the Dallas Cowboys with an impressive showing thus far. Micah has 3 sacks on the season. He's got, let me got it here, 6 solo tackles, a forced fumble on his resume. And TJ Watt has played outstanding as well. He had 3 sacks against the San Francisco 49ers, had a touchdown on a forced fumble from Alex Highsmith last night. So, first of all, before either of you say a word, go Steelers. First win as a Steelers fan. Very excited. Wave the terrible towel. Let's go Steelers, okay? I know our offense sucks, but our defense is amazing. I'll start with you, Barry. Who is, in your view, the best defensive player in the NFL between TJ Watt and Micah Parsons?
Well, I mean, if you're going to go ahead and look at the stats, obviously TJ Watt has a sack more than Micah Parsons does, another forced fumble extra, right? But just seeing them, the eye test, it's Micah. Micah is all over the field. He is a guy that is literally imposing his will defensively on the opposing offensive lines and quarterbacks. It is amazing to see how they move him around. how they put him in different spots, and the explosion that he has coming off of the line. It's so impressive to watch him, man. I think you're starting to see him get it in regards to the defensive awareness and the aggressiveness and the consistency that you're looking for. Now, look, we've seen him, kind of wane in the second half of seasons. That's what I want to see from him. Obviously, TJ Watt has been a consistent guy as well. He's had some injury concerns over the last few seasons in regards to his health in the Steelers. But whenever he's healthy, he's a beast. But if you're going to give it to somebody has to be declared the best dominant player right now. It's Micah Parsons. It's definitely Micah Parsons.
Yeah, you make a fair case. And the one thing that always just anytime I watch the Cowboys play, and let's see, at the end of the day, I might be a Steelers fan, but I'm obviously, I love Micah Parsons. There's no wrong answers here. It's just who obviously gives the better take. But, anytime I watch the Cowboys defense, and really for everybody in Dallas, but Mike in particular, it's the speed that just jumps off the TV at you. It's incredible to watch. So, listen, he's a generational talent, and frankly, Dallas kind of, even though he's drafted, I think, was it 12th overall by the Cowboys? It feels like they kind of stole him. They lucked out. He was a top 5 projected prospect. He didn't play in 2020, so the Cowboys definitely stole him there. To Alfred, in your eyes, who's the best defensive player in the NFL, TJ or Micah?
Micah Parsons is a great player. However, I'm going TJ Watt. We've seen 2 weeks of the NFL, right? The difference between TJ Watt and Micah Parsons, TJ Watt played the San Francisco 49ers a really great offense in that first week. You're talking about, yes, Micah Parsons is great, but great players will always dominate against mediocrity. He's playing a Daniel Jones-led New York Giants team. Anybody who plays Zach Wilson can destroy him on defense. A toddler can probably get an interception off of Zach Wilson. We're talking about TJ Watt, who not only had a dominating performance last night against a Cleveland Browns team where, say what you want about Deshaun Watson and Nick Chubb going out early in the game, but in that same game, he became the all-time Steelers sack leader. Do you know how hard that is? How many great defensive players through the history of the Steelers organization? He's got one over Joey Porter. He's got over James Harrison, Cameron Hayward. Those guys, it took them over 100 games to accomplish that. He does it in 89, and he's played against, so far in this season, he's played against better offenses than Micah Parsons has. Micah Parsons is great, not taking anything away from him. You want to say he's the best defensive player in the NFC? I'll go ahead and give that to him. But TJ Watt has had a higher level of opposition, and he's making history at the same time, and he's on pace to have a monster season this season. Micah Parsons, let's see if he'll replicate this when the Cowboys play the Eagles, or when the Cowboys play the 49ers. Will he replicate that against two better offenses? I don't know. I'm not saying he can't, but for this argument of who's the better player, I have to go off of what I've seen so far, and the two levels of competition just don't equate to each other.
Okay, listen, that's a fair case you make. You mentioned, obviously, TJ breaking James Harrison's all-time Steelers sack record. He actually, fun fact, did it in half the games, which is mind-boggling what he's been able
89.
to do as 89, and what's...
Here's my point, though, Bryson. What does that have to do with what the conversation is about? All right? That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
He did it this season, sir.
That's all I'm saying. Night. It's early. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's early, and the guy you're
don't try to get brownie points.
The
don't
guy
try to get brownie points.
Has done it against one mediocre offense and one lower than mediocre offense.
Don't try to get brownie points here. I see what.
Okay, everybody, break it up. Okay, listen, y'all said your piece. Y'all made your cases. I've seen like a ton of. Listen, let me hit a couple comments here. So, Sincere Brown says, "What about Nick Bosa?" That's an absolutely fair case. Nick Bosa's potentially going to have another monster season. But listen, y'all, Clint Anderson says TJ is a force to be reckoned with and is super impressive. However, Micah and his ability to be a chameleon, lining up on so many positions, adds to his ability to affect the game from any position. Man. You move him around, absolutely. He's incredibly versatile. Sincere Brown says the Cowboys have the Cardinals next week, another mediocre opponent. So yeah, it's absolutely, again, Dallas, to their credit, taking advantage of their schedule thus far. Both of y'all made very compelling cases. Again, I don't think there is a wrong answer in this situation. But when it's all said and done, the champion of the 8 o'clock spot, as I go ahead and dial up the victory music because for some odd reason it takes way too long to load, but it is what it is. The champion this week for episode 7 of the 8 o'clock spot is Alfred Parsard Jr. gets the W this week. Two-time champion now, Alfred Parsard Jr. Al, how you doing, my man? How's it feel to be a two-time champ on the 8 o'clock spot?
I have a prepared statement.
Oh, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. This 2 straight weeks. We can't be doing this all the time, okay? We're done after this, Alfred, okay? We're done.
I, Alfred Gerald Parsard Jr., am undefeated 2-0 when I oppose Barrington Grant Jr. in the finals of the 8 o'clock spot. I run Barrington. The end.
Well, first of all, I want to give you credit because not only was that brief and not near as long and as eloquently written as it was last week, but the fact of the matter is you didn't make me read it, so props to you, Al. I almost thought about maybe giving you a little bonus 50, but you don't want to be too crazy here. But Alfred is a champion of the 8 o'clock spot. Clint Anderson says, great job, Alfred. And listen, Alfred had a wire-to-wire win. He led throughout, so props to him. Great takes all the way around.
The most dominating win in 8 o'clock spot history. I never trailed.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, listen, this is close. I'm not gonna lie, this was probably our most entertaining, even though, again, you did kind of lead the wire-to-wire. We'll bring AJ back in the mix. AJ, your reaction to Alfred winning the championship here? You're muted. You're muted, my man. Let's see.
There we go.
There he goes.
Alfred made some great points. Obviously I signed with Barry Grant Jr. On Micah, but hey, the man made some good points. I can't argue with him. And congratulations.
Solid points.
Absolutely. Let's look at, before we get out of here, let's look at our updated leaderboard as soon as it loads here. Here we go. Okay, our updated leaderboard. So Barry's still a pretty comfortable lead, although not quite as comfortable as he was in the past, a little over 39,000. Alfred Parsard Jr. jumps up a couple spots. He's now in our second place spot with over 23,000, followed by Devin Nettles, Dalton Brown, Mike Guido. There you are, AJ, a spot above your man, Adam, at 1,200 points. Adam obviously has 850, and John Rivera was 700. So props to everybody who participated. Again, everybody be sure to subscribe, obviously, to the Gryd Network, follow all of our social media platforms and whatnot, because it is the 1-year anniversary of the Gryd Network. It is Gryd Appreciation Week. Definitely gonna celebrate throughout this week the 1-year anniversary of this incredible network. Obviously, Barry, you co-founded with Mike Guido, and everybody here has done a spectacular job. Do you want to say something?
I do want to say something. I think that, the show is continuing to grow. I think it's a great addition to the Gryd Network. The fact that we can get multiple people that are a part of the Gryd to be a part of it, man. And, just seeing AJ here is great. Alfred being on here consistently. It's just a good show, man. I think people like it. I've gotten a lot of, positive reviews from the show, so we're just going to keep growing, going to keep building, going to keep having fun. But I also wanted to put this out there as well to all my content creators out there that have goals and aspirations of being bigger, right? Not having a journalistic background, or you're not an athlete but sports. Don't listen to the people that's actually having the podium right now saying that you can't stay up there and can't compete with them. Everybody has a spot. Just because somebody has a platform right now and doesn't respect guys who are not journalists and athletes doesn't mean that you don't have a voice. You feel what I'm saying? So that's the message that I wanted to put out there, because what I'm hearing in the media right now is bullshit, and I don't like it. And everybody who wants to be a content creator who's on YouTube right now busting their ass, it doesn't matter if you didn't go to journalistic school or you're an athlete. Keep doing your thing and keep grinding. Facts.
Listen, it's what that's the beauty of it, is the fact that, and obviously here at the Gryd Network, I echo everything you say. It's been an incredible community. It's been an unbelievable 1 year. We've added some new faces to this network over the past year. So, very exciting to see where we continue to progress. And, who knows how much bigger this network will be come 2024. So very, very excited. Props to you, Barry, to you, Mike, Guido. Mike froze on Guido, of course, so we have to reference him as with his one appearance, the 8 o'clock spot. We're going to have to get him on at some point once again.
He'll be back after his wedding. He promised.
Absolutely. He'll be back after for this wedding. So shout out to Mike Guido. Shout out to you, Barry Grant Jr. Shout out to you, Alfred Parsard Jr. And shout out to you, Alex Johnson. Very excited to do this show every single week. And hope everybody will tune into the 8 o'clock spot next week at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, right here on the Gryd Network's YouTube channel and Twitter account. Definitely a fun show throughout. And again, Gryd, one more time, Gryd Appreciation Week. Tune into the Gryd Network all throughout this week. And we'll continue to build and grow this network. But hope everybody has a great week. We'll see y'all next Tuesday. A lot of football, a lot of everything going on in the world of sports. It just gets better and better. So until next Tuesday, I'm Bryson Carver signing off. God bless y'all. Peace out.